is up? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the True Earth Debates. We are very pleased to be sticking with the new but old format, back to the roots, as they say, of diving into the TikTok cesspool and seeing what kind of conversations, debates we can drug up. I feel this time we're going to be much more successful in finding some opponents for tonight's subject. So come one, come all. Thank you so much for joining. Huge shout out to Nuba already with the tip. Can't really see it there. Hold on. Awesome, $2, super generous. We appreciate you. All right, off kicking to the races. I decided instead of loading into TikTok, that was kind of like an experiment that we did in the last episode, the True Fate debate, and it didn't actually work out so well. So I'm going to load in this time from here, and hopefully it'll make my numbers turn out better. They just kind of dwindled over there as they were waiting for me to load into this. So in any case, sophistry, dishonest tactics, nothing that we are not used to. The reason why I titled today's episode as such is because I feel like that is the number one contender that we actually have as truthers out here as we attempt to, how would you say, evangelize the community. Now, we're constantly dealing with logical fallacies and just blatant disinformation, however you want to word it. And it has become blatantly obvious that a very effective and powerful way to deal with this is going to be to call them out on their face, right? Like right on the surface in front of God and everybody. So today it is my hope to put the Globers on notice, if you will, that these tactics are not going to fly by. Certainly not to my audience anyway. We are going to be addressing them full on. For those who may have missed it, I dropped a point over in the Jeranism, man, brain farting on it. That's funny. Speaker's Corner. We were on the Speaker's Corner for just a moment, and I pointed out that PhD Tony unfortunately didn't even have his information correct when he claimed that the Antarctic ice shelf was the deepest continental shelf. Maybe that was just something that he made up. I'm not sure where he got that, but I do know that it's not the deepest continental shelf. The deepest one is Asia, actually more than double. Antarctica is actually 500 meters, and the Eurasian continent is 1,200 meters. So, yeah, there's a big difference there. It doesn't quite explain why the Antarctic waves wouldn't the waves in Antarctica wouldn't wrap around it, but hey, let's not have too much debate right now. We're going to go ahead and load right on in. So this will take me just a moment, folks. Before I do want to shout out everybody for tuning in. Of course, huge shout out to Nubo over there on the Rockfin. Anybody who may be listening, that is a great place to go. You never know when we're going to go ahead and cut during these shows to go only to Rockfin when the topics get contentious. So the full stream will always be available over there on Rockfin. So great place to go. Let me go ahead over to the YouTube chat. How are you folks doing? My goodness, come on now. There we go. All right. So, of course, we got Ruhif. Awesome, man. How are you doing today? Malcolm Sheen, what is up, my friend? All right, we're just getting things kicked off here. We are actually going to be diving into TikTok curiosity. Just out of curiosity, Ruhif, do you have a TikTok account in which you could dive in and troll as you usually do? Just kidding. I believe you're genuine, of course. What is up, Mad Mac? Huge shout out. All right. I do not have a TikTok. Don't like the Chinese spying on you, huh? That's okay. They spy on everybody anyway, so at least that's my opinion. Let's go ahead and get it going, shall we? I don't know why I didn't mean to click that button. Hopefully that doesn't mess things up too bad. All right. I don't think so. Perfect. Cool. Okay, folks, sit tight. Enjoy this astronaut flying through space as we load up into TikTok. I got to disconnect my audio from here, so I won't be able to hear any notifications or anything, but that's all good. All the sound needs to come through the cell phone anyway, because that's where you have to do a TikTok stream. But we've come prepared. It's going to be awesome. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I wish I had some elevator music for you guys. If anybody has a good elevator sound, you can go ahead and send it to me. I've been too lazy to find one. But here we go. All right. And this will just take a moment, folks. Nothing like getting the live going full force before we actually pull it on over. No worries. Let's go ahead and get it. Every time it wants to take away my background. Bring it back. All right, just waiting for the notification to go out. And for the people to come in, folks, welcome back for another exciting episode of the True Earth debate. Man, getting all jumbled. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you're not tuning out. We are going to get some Globers in here, get the audience roaring, and it is going to be a good time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and find my live over here on the YouTube. Folks who are joining on the TikTok side, we have the live going over on YouTube and on Rockfin as well. So go and check it out. There we go. That should do it, right? Oh, 1 second, folks. Let me check the audio. Can anybody in the audience tell me if there's any audio playing over on the laptop, over on the YouTube side? No, there's not, of course. What is up, Mike? Appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to get things rock and rolling here in just a moment. Just got to get because they'll be able to hear me and they will not be able to hear y'all. So that's not going to be good. No, that would not be good at all. But let's hit properties. Let's try that. Maybe interact, control audio with OBS. Yes, let's do it. And it doesn't want to pop up. No worries. There's ways around this. And we got a guest in the box. Awesome. Level, what is up, my friend? Your audio is a little low, my friend. Your audio is a little low, my friend.
I got it up a little bit now. Can you hear me better?
I do hear you now, and I think the audience can now hear everything as well.
Okay. Oh, troubling. Ruhif genuine. Okay. Hey, you know what? We need to get Ruhif a TikTok account. What do you think?
Sorry, I had to check the audio real quick.
Should we get Ruhif a TikTok account?
I don't know if he'd use it.
I'll say this. Ruhif would make Globy look really, really pathetic.
Hello.
Oh my goodness.
What is up, Oogie Boogie? Welcome to the show, my friend.
Oogie Boogie.
Hey,
Oogie Boogie.
Oogie Boogie.
I like Oogie Boogie.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ruhif, for the sound check. I do appreciate you on that.
I gotta do this. Hold on. I just want to know. I'd like to know your what are you debating about on True Earth? It just says True Earth debate. Like, what is your argument or your debate?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty self-explanatory, right? We're debating. I'm hearing some loud echo or ringing there, so it just went away. So yeah, today's topic, right? It's something that we do pretty often over here. The true Earth debate. We're debating the cosmology of the Earth, its shape, position, all that good stuff. We take the geocentric topographical plane position, and we like to smack the globers who come in here for the most part. But yeah, that's every day. So Oogie Boogie, which side of the fence are you on with that? Have you heard of the true Earth discussion?
No, I'm not. Could you explain to me the geocentric tropical plane? The is that flat?
So flat is not a shape; it's a description, right? So it is a plane, like planar, as far as like the overall shape. I wouldn't be hubris enough to be able to tell you that, right? But I can
Okay.
tell you that we're not measuring the supposed curvature of the 8 inches per square mile for the globular claim. There's no evidence of any motion of the Earth, and all the observations of the universe seem to point that we're at the center.
Huh.
So so
Okay. I'm
so
listening.
so Oogie Boogie, you think we live on something like this? Is that what you're saying?
I honestly don't seem sound. I don't think anything else will be logically possible.
Now, do you say that because at age 5 you went into kindergarten and your teacher told you that, and you haven't grown out of that since age 5? Is that what you believe?
Not necessarily. I mean, I could go through scientific terms or just simply put that everything is just so constructed in a well present state that it could be nothing but a dang near perfect sphere. It's not even a perfect sphere, really. It's still a little bit old shaped, but to be honest with you, if it was this plane that we're speaking of, I feel like there would be a whole nother way to live. Like, for example, the sun would be flat, or at least a plane. Everything would be a plane. The
What?
firmament that I'm sure is there does the firmament
So
go with this as well?
So you obviously have heard of the discussion, right? So you're just kind of pretending to not really be privy to it.
Well, your the definition of it was very impressive, so it was convincing. Your definition was convincing. However, I feel like it's physically impossible for all of us humans in life in general, to live on a flat plane, and much less the flat plane have an ending. Because I feel like if there was a case, in this flat plane that we will all live on is very, very big, to the point to where, say for example, airplanes would have an ending, an ending on their route.
So you have a. My guess is that when you think about the planular Earth topography and its position in the cosmos, that you're imagining it floating in space in the solar system.
Uh, I wouldn't say floating as in like something is propelling it up outside of the magnetic field, because within a vacuum, things are where they are. Vacuum expands as well as the things because of the vacuum. That's
So
pretty much why we don't get destroyed by the sun's radiations on a basis. We can't hear the sounds of the sun or anything in space.
So you go. Let's try to go one step at a time, right? So I don't think you realize that you had like a whole load of assumptions in on all of that. So let's start from like the basics. When you say that it would be impossible for us to live on anything like flat and planular, can you give me like an experiment, or can you more? I guess I should say, can you narrow it down a little bit, be more specific on what you mean by that? Like what specifically
I
about
don't know.
what specifically about us not having measurable curvature means that we wouldn't be able to live here?
Well, for example, everything on the
And
surface of the Earth, everything on the surface of the Earth, all the weight would probably crush the flat plane somewhere. It would be an actual crack in the middle, in the smack dab middle, due
there's
to
cracks all
all
over
of
the
the weight
place.
of everything on the plane.
There's cracks all over the place. There's
No, I'm
tectonic
talking like,
plates.
I'm, no, the tectonic plates are a little different. That's the land masses or the continents themselves shifting due to. Well, I'm not really totally keen on that, but
What
that's
about the
just me
fact that
honest.
everything gets
And I'm trying to.
denser? What about the fact that even according to seismology, right, everything gets denser the further down you go, right? So, I mean, where are you getting that the weight just wouldn't be able to support? Is that just something that you're saying, or is there an actual citation?
I mean, going strictly off of an opinion. I mean, because
It's probably not a very strong
the
place to
Earth.
start if for a factual conversation. If we're trying to like talk about facts, right?
Well, okay. Well, the reason why I don't have too many facts is because there's scientists and observers and people that have actually researched this for years,
Well, that
and
would be an
there's NASA.
appeal to authority, would it not? That's not also not a very strong argument in the debate type setting,
NASA
right?
isn't
So
that
it wouldn't
strong, but
be
that's
so it
true.
wouldn't be very so it wouldn't be very productive if we were having a debate on religion and I said my religion is true because all my preachers say that my religion is true, right? That's an appeal to authority. That's an appeal to also to majority. Just because a majority of scientists of the authority agree with your position doesn't necessarily mean that your position's true, right? The truth is the truth no
In a
matter how many
sense,
people believe it,
except,
and the lie is a lie no matter how many people believe it. Can we agree on that?
well, see that. Well, of course, down here on that note, if everyone believes something is right or wrong, then that said thing is right or wrong.
No, for
However,
because for no, by your that very definition is demonstrably wrong, and even by scientific standards. If you go by the mainstream scientific standard, then scientists have been wrong with every theory except for the modern age, right? Everything's been overturned multiple times until we get to the point where we are now. So, at what point does science quit being wrong and start being absolute?
well, we have the chemical elements chart, the periodic chemical of elements thing chart. We have kinetic energy, electricity manufacturing, metal bending molecules. I can go on and on about how science has been proven, and you know,
I would argue that in the particulars of electricity, that the science probably hasn't been proven there. But I'm not an expert electrician, but I do know that there's a
of
whole
course,
nother
they're still learning.
yeah, there's a whole
That's the point of
nother.
science is it's an infinite learning. But on the religion factor, religion is based off faith, and you can't really prove faith
Well, it's just
because
an
it's
example.
belief in.
It was just an
Well,
example on a
yeah,
fallacy, right? Like I used something that was
it's
very
more or less
obvious
a
that we'd have to agree with.
it's more or less a fallacy because in my mind, I can't be convinced that faith will bring me proof of anything.
So let me ask you this then: what empirical evidence has been brought to you that we actually are living on a spinning space ball and that NASA is telling the truth?
Well, I went to NASA school.
Okay, my mother
I went
worked
to,
at NASA for many years.
and she's telling you that it was the Earth is just plain.
She actually agrees with me that it's very, very possible. So, again, we can talk about like anecdotal, personal, like, oh, I had this personal experience all day long. It doesn't really mean anything when we're, talking
Your
about trying
mother
to
who
analyze the
works.
facts.
Wait. Your hold on. Wait. No. Let me just make sure I got it. Your mother works for NASA,
Worked.
correct?
Doesn't work for there anymore, but she used to, yes.
When she okay, so
Space
when
Center,
she
Houston.
did work, when she did okay, so when she did work there, she told you that it's possible that the Earth is flat, but
So
not.
you just want to try to pick apart my mother's credibility, or do you want to actually talk about a specific fact that actually proves your point that NASA is telling the truth and that we do live on a ball?
Well, I mean, we can go with both of them because if your mother is saying it's possible, that doesn't necessarily mean it's
Well, it'd be a
true.
fallacy, right? So that's why I'm not using that as evidence, right? So let's not even go there, right? It's not evidence of anything. What my mother tells
So
me and what you experienced in NASA school, it doesn't really tell me anything, right? Can you get specific on like something very specific that we can actually look at and analyze so we can progress the conversation?
that's pretty much. I'm not a scientist. I can't go much further
But you went to NASA
than
school.
that.
What did you do in NASA school? What were you
I
trying
was like
to
a
major
freaking.
in?
I was like a kid, you know.
Oh,
but I but at the same time,
so
I
why
was
that would
explained
just
gravity.
wouldn't that mean that you're just more indoctrinated than the average kid? So you would be more privy to believe something like this?
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
So you don't think that the direct NASA funded education would have a bigger influence on your on how you feel about space than just having a normal education?
nowadays normal is not a thing anymore.
See,
Okay,
see,
so you're just
see,
not going to answer the question.
see. Here's the problem.
I kind of got you. I'm
Here,
listening. What?
here's the problem. We all went to NASA school. We were all told we lived on something like this starting at age 5. So it doesn't take NASA school to make you believe you live on a ball because we were all told we live on a ball. Hey, Oogie Boogie, I have a question for you. I want you to get real specific with this. You think you live on the city space ball in the vacuum of outer space? Um, let's see the depth of your knowledge of what you know about your ball. How big is your ball that you live on?
Oh, I don't know. I just don't see how it's physically possible to just live on a flat plane.
If
I
you have a
it,
if you
Well,
have
we
a
just live here. How about that?
oogie
We're just here.
oogie boogie oogie boogie, if you have a spinning space ball that is 3,959 miles in radius, that's what we're told. That's what you had been told in your NASA school. You times two, you get the diameter. You times pi, which is 3.14, goes out forever. You get 24,901 miles. In that, you can use simple geometry, and you get the Earth curve at 8 inches per mile squared. So in other words, at 8 inches, at 1 mile, 8 inches. At two, it's 32. At three, it's 72. At 10 miles, it's 66 miles. 20 miles is 266 miles. Where can you send me to see that for myself?
well, personally, a mile itself is pretty far away for anyone to just stare and look at. About it, if you take two people and put them a mile away from each other, it's a pretty. I'm pretty darn sure, just based off my mental imagery, that they would just vanish in the horizon point.
Can you see a big city skyline from 20, 30, 40 miles away?
Well, it's pretty big, so of course you can see it.
Okay, so
And it get
if
and
you're
as you
at
get bigger, as you get closer to it, it gets bigger.
if you're at
And
40
as you get,
miles,
since you're getting, hmm? Oh,
if
sorry,
you're if
what?
you're at 40 miles away from a big city, that is 1,066 feet worth of Earth curve that should be hidden. If you take about a 6 foot person, that comes about 900 feet that should be hidden. If you can see the whole city from 40 miles away, can you admit that you don't live on a spinning space ball?
No, because wait, no, because you can't see the whole city from that far away.
How do
And
you
wait,
know?
wait, wait.
How do you know?
So what you're saying is I should be able to go up in the sky and on an
No,
airplane to
on the ground. On the ground.
on
Six
the
feet
ground. You're not
up,
going to be able to
straight
see
night.
anything that far away.
How do you know?
Well, because I kind of have eyes.
All
At
right, so
Go ahead, Trublin.
I was gonna say, so let's rely on something that's a little bit more reliable than our eyes, right? Would you agree with like that radar measurements would be pretty accurate?
Sure, yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. You're familiar about the difference between ground wave and sky wave?
Um, Not quite. In what way? I'm no,
Okay,
no,
so
not at all.
ground wave is the radar that you use on the ground. Skywave is the supposed radar that we launch into the sky to bounce off the ad hoc ionosphere. That was actually
Okay.
ad hoc in, which means it was invented or theorized after the fact as a explanation for why Marconi was able to send a transatlantic radio signal across the Atlantic like 2,200 miles. Everybody told him it wasn't going to work because of the curvature of the Earth. However, he used, and it even says he used line line of sight, right? So he didn't have to have no calculations. He didn't angle it up in the sky no special way. He used line of sight to the best of his ability and then shot it the best direction that he thought was going to be, his station, and he hit the target. So not only that, but we actually have documents today that say that we can use ground wave propagation to actually hit a target that's only 5 meters. That's only 5 meters high, and we can hit it 500 miles away, right? So how is that possible if the Earth is curving?
I think that we're a lot smaller than you think, man.
So you haven't checked the math at all. There's supposed to be 32 miles of curvature.
Well, so every 32 miles, you're supposed to see a little bit of curvature.
No, 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 no. There's supposed to be 32 miles of curvature, roughly. That's missing in that observation. 500 miles hitting a radio signal at a target that's 5 meters high from a tower. I think they're doing a 10-meter tall tower. So you do the math on that. You don't have to just take my word for it, right? Go into any Earth curvature calculator that you want. I recommend doing Walter Bisland's, since all the other Globers like to recommend using that. And then when you see that, not only that, but there are several other observations that demolish this calculator, and you'll see that we're actually just not curving, and that everything that you think is like contingent is actually just theoretical BS.
Okay, so what you're saying is this person shot something that was 5 meters in the air at 500 miles.
Well, it's not this person; it's the army.
Okay, the army. Okay, what exactly did they shoot?
Radio, ground waves.
A ground wave. Okay, a ground wave. Um, and you're looking for the curvature. So what you're saying is, with this wave that was shot out, it's straightforward. There's no going down or anything. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so radar works off line of sight also.
Okay. Uh, Radar works off line of sight. With, I don't understand when radar can't see.
Okay,
When
so
I
it's
think of
like
a, when
this,
I think
right?
of a when I
Well,
think of a radar, I think of like you ever heard Dragon Ball Z? Okay, like the Dragon Radar, how it's
yeah,
just
it's the
a
same
skinny,
thing.
right? That's literally like that is
Do
flat,
you know
and
that
that's picking up.
sound that they're making? Right? That's like it's bouncing. So think of it like that. Like the way a radar works, right? Is you send a signal and then it bounces off of a target and comes back to the receiver. Right? So that's how they are bounced. That's what they mean when they're like bouncing and getting a return. Right? So,
Okay,
and when we're talking specifically about radar, that's why I brought up the difference between ground wave and sky wave, because the most common answer is that it's bouncing off of the ionosphere to reach its target. However, we're talking about ground waves. Ground waves do not have the capability of bouncing off the ionosphere. And again, the ionosphere was literally ad hoc in because when Marconi shot the radar too far, I can't remember the exact year they did. It was back in the early 1900s. When he did that, they said, well, there has to be something going on, right? Because we know that the Earth is curving. So there has to be something up there that it's bouncing off of. So it's ad hoc, which means it's basically begging the question. Instead of using it and looking at it for what it was, it's like, okay, well, obviously there's no obstruction, right? Which is what we're talking about. The reason why I bring up the example is very simple. When you do the calculations, there's supposed to be 32 miles of obstruction, basically, between the 2 points. So it should be impossible for the radar to reach that far, and yet it does.
32 miles of obstruction, as in the radar only goes straight forward, or it goes in a straight line. Oh, yeah, your digging is definitely dug. If that makes sense.
I wish I could take credit for it, but I actually get a lot of my information from Witsit Gets It, so you can definitely go check out some of his work over on YouTube.
I I don't I just I can't really get convinced because we're so tiny compared to the Earth.
Well, could you
We're
ever be
so
convinced
tiny.
if you never took the time to look into more in-depth information? You're obviously not just going to believe some guy from a TikTok live, right?
No, it's just the lot. Well, no, it's just the logics in the scientists that's looked over this over years and years of time, and all of a sudden people call it a lie.
Well, you realize that you're arguing from multiple fallacies. For one, incredulity. You just can't see how it's possible. For two, you're under the assumption that all of these scientists have agreed because you've been spoon-fed one position from a government-funded education system, most likely. And three, well, no, I don't think there is three. I think the first two covered it nicely. So,
So you think that
Um,
we're all spoon fed information that
absolutely.
we don't have the reason and intellectual acuity to go and arrive at conclusions for ourselves, that we are all like jewel encrusted,
No, not all of
like
you. Actually, I think that there's actually quite a few of you out there that can use your intellect, but a lot of the people that I run into my lives, especially the
mhm,
first couple people, will
sure,
typically be, well, typically have not have done the research, right? Will not have done what you're talking about doing.
sure, no problem. For me, when I first thought about it, like, because intuitively, we're not falling off, we don't feel the motion, so intuitively we go and we say, well, there's very little evidence from my perspective that I'm moving at all. So I understand that. That's not a problem for me. And then I look at it and I say, well, we have 131,000 physicists, 21,000 are astrophysicists. Uh, we have the geodetic survey, we have geographers, we have maps, we have lots of people. And that would total up to right around 11 million people across the globe that do this for a living, right? And obviously there are dissenting opinions, obviously, because you're one, and you seem like a pretty intelligent guy. But the dissenting opinions, they pale in comparison to these really, really smart people doing all this math and all this lifelong studying. And I don't think that they are here to fool me.
So what I'll say for one is that the people that you just say are like really really smart. This is what I mean by like we get spoon-fed information. These people that are hailed as like the heroes of the scientific community, they
Mhm,
actually a lot of them did have good rivalries. And if you actually look at the story behind each one, science just kind of decides based on philosophical grounds, not
mhm,
necessarily on evidence-based reasoning.
mhm.
So does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, you're right. I would. Some of them probably come to some conclusions that aren't based purely off of things that they saw or information that they can gather by experimentation. So yeah, I guess the ionosphere, like you said, would be something that would be, you would have to arrive at a conclusion from a terrestrial source, like doing whatever you could do from down here to try to figure it out. But for me, when you have 194 nations, 77 of which are telling you that they're putting satellites in orbit, and I don't know how we're keeping this a secret, or how we're not catching them. Like, how are we not catching these people doing any of this ever?
So could I concede that satellites could be a thing and the Earth could still be a plane?
No,
No.
no, no.
And why not?
Well,
Because you
well,
think satellites rely solely on gravity, right?
Yes.
I will, when I look at it, I did that little weird experiment where you take the ball and then you see if two objects actually have, if one with a larger mass pulls another one with a smaller mass towards it. It's nothing but, like, it's just the mass. I didn't see anything that was magnetic about them. There was nothing
So it's
nothing
not.
registered for me.
Yeah, so it's just a misunderstanding on the principles at hand. So you think that you're looking for something magnetic, and that's
Hmm.
actually not what you're looking for. What's happening, and this is actually admitted in physics, right? This is
Hmm.
not really heavily debated. The force that holds the atoms together and that
Hmm.
holds the electrons to the atom or to the nucleus is
Sure.
actually electrostatic in nature. So it's not magnetism that you're looking for; it's actually electrostatics.
Things don't
And this is something.
things
This is
don't
some.
operate the same
I
quantumly.
Explain.
understand
Oh,
that when you hold
quantumly.
them in a for them to stay in the valence
They
shell,
don't.
and I can understand that would be really hard for us to quantify, that something as small as an electron could stay in a valence shell and be captured by, protons and neutrons. But it's 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 really odd for me, man. It's hard to convince me of something that I have so much evidence and I have so many people saying that I saw this, I did this.
Well, we
And
did
then
we already did the ionosphere. I mean, we could tackle them one at a time. I think you would be surprised to find that most of the things you think are solid evidences or have been well represented, and that there's no wiggle room is actually not. Seismology, in particular, just got tackled the other day. So, I mean, wherever you guys want to go with it.
Keith, you sound like you know what you're
Well,
talking
what
about.
makes you
I'll
feel
start at
that
space
your
flight.
statement is
I,
your statement on flat Earth is true? How do you stand on flat Earth being a real thing?
I
The
just
lack
want
of
to.
curvature, for one.
Got it. I just want to clarify host's position here.
Yo,
You're under
good.
the
What's happening, bro?
you're under the impression that the Earth is flat.
Yes, just like you are all under the impression that the Earth is a spinny baseball.
Correct. Okay, so you were saying something about how we are spoon-fed information from our government educations.
Correct. I don't think there'd be any disagreement on that.
Sure. What was your education background like?
And see, it always goes this way. Arguing
Well,
from credentials is a
hold on.
credentials fallacy.
You just accused us. Did you not have the same education that we did?
I did, actually.
Okay. So what happened?
What's that have to do with anything? Can we argue the points on their merit, or can't we?
I personally, I don't really love talking about like the science about this stuff. I'm kind of curious.
You'll probably get your ass handed to you.
Well, because I'm kind of more curious about what Keith's talking about, which is sort of like every nation on Earth has including the ones that want to bomb each other out of existence, have somehow decided that this position that they are going to form an alliance on and maintain this lie, continue to uphold this lie very convincingly. And I'm just curious as to like, who, in your opinion, do you have a name that we can go? I don't. I just want to address you somehow that we can.
You can call me Mr. Tribune.
Tribune.
Mr. Tribune. And trouble. What I came to was Kahn and Dial, right? The two leading the two leading most neuroscientists, and one is a neuroscientist and one is a psychologist, right? So what they came to, and this is probably 2008, is that 52 people. If you tell 52 people something, 3 of those 52 will absolutely let the cat off the bag. After 52 people, you can't keep a secret. 7 out of 10 people fear death, but the other 3 do not. Right? You can't.
Yeah. So how did you reliably test? How did you reliably test how many people can keep a secret, though?
Can you just let him?
They did it with. I think the experiment was what they used 40,000. 40,000 people. That's a huge. That's a huge amount of people to use for a study. Right, and it was over 11 years. So I would say that was, until someone comes up with a bigger, better study.
Pretty comprehensive study, right?
For me,
yeah, I just want to know how the study was done.
Hold on. So okay. So aside from that study of 52 people, what in your best estimation, Tribune, what do you think? Who is benefiting from this lie, and how specifically from the lie that the Earth is a globe? Does it benefit?
Yeah, so
them?
you guys just want to try to back me into this corner of like defending motivation. Hold on, I've been letting you guys talk of trying to defend motivations when the truth is that's not going to prove anything, right? If I tell you what I think the motivation is, or who I think's behind it, that's not going to bring us any closer to actually verifying if my claim is true, right? Just like you guys talking about this is absolutely not going to verify if your claim is true. So
you're right. You're right. For us to stick to empirical.
I disagree. That's why I disagree. Okay, because like you said earlier, religion is based upon faith. Your claim is based upon faith. You don't.
Your claim is definitely based upon faith, Oogie Boogie.
Definitely not, dude.
Oogie Boogie specifically is because he hasn't done the research.
Faith is my faith, which is not faith, is actually belief, is based upon humans actually doing the research and the
What's the difference between faith and belief?
Why do you have such a hard time with letting people finish their sentences?
I want to get one point out at a time, and people stack fallacies on top of each other.
I'm sorry, man. I should have stayed with the science. My fault.
It's okay.
I'm not going to stay with the science.
Faith is not believing; it's hoping. Belief is actually knowing.
No, belief is not knowing. Look it up.
Can we just hold on before you just bat away my question to you, because this, I believe, is a fairly big part about this whole conspiracy theory, right? Which is like,
it's not.
hold on. The
We should
motivation for
verify.
hold on. The motivation for all countries to lie to their people is not important.
It's
Why?
not.
Why not?
Because it's not the evidence of the actual thing. The murder scene is the actual evidence of the murder, not the motivation behind the murder, right?
It's both.
All right, so
It's for sure both.
if you're gonna keep yelling loudly, I'm gonna kick you. So, yeah, so
But
please don't do that.
what if we did
Is it
look
not both?
at a murder scene and say that the reason that because someone has a motivation to commit said act, like that would be taken in the context in any courtroom, right? If we were
Absolutely,
weighing it.
absolutely, but it's not. But you wouldn't say
It's how we solve murders.
Hold on, you wouldn't say because I don't know the motivation, a murder didn't happen. You would look at the actual body of evidence first and be like, well, at least we know the murder happened. So I'm trying to get us to look at the evidence. And
Now,
Good
wait,
Trouble,
now that
you seem
goes
to want to
back to
avoid the
what-
evidence like the plague.
No, I don't.
That
I'm
goes
happy
back
to
to
talk
what Good
about all
Trouble
of
was
the
saying.
evidence
Here is
that we have at our side.
Hey,
Literally
Trouble,
all of
Good
science.
Trouble.
Trouble.
I don't want to
Trouble,
talk
you
about that
said it
science.
already.
I want to talk about why you think that all governments are lying to us.
All right.
Yeah, what is the
so-
benefit out of it? Yes. What is the
Troubling.
benefit of
If I can have
everyone
a
being
second.
fooled
If
in
I can
the
have
way
a
the
second.
Earth is?
Mr. Level,
If I can have a second. A
I
number
hadn't
of
spoken
months
to you,
ago-
Mr. Level. I
a number
apologize.
of
How you
months
doing today,
ago-
Mr. Level?
A number of months ago, Good Trouble was nice enough to have me on his podcast for like 30 or 45 minutes. And he kicked me because I was getting into situations that he just couldn't handle. And so he kicked me after 30 or 45
I
minutes.
don't believe that's true.
Just because he has 1.1 million followers on TikTok does not mean he knows squat. He thinks he's a big guy because he can kick somebody and still keep over his 1 million
Level, I don't remember
followers.
talking to you.
Good Trouble, I would debate you for 3 hours on your TikTok podcast tomorrow.
I don't have
if
a
you give me
podcast.
3 hours.
This is just
Give me
live.
3 hours. I will debate you for 3 hours.
Who has 3 hours for this, my guy?
Hey,
2
man.
hours.
All right, hey, let's bring it back.
You know I
What's
do this.
happening right now?
Good
Bring it back.
Trouble.
Good
You know I
Trouble.
do this, Trouble.
You think
Okay,
you're
so
something,
wait, all right,
but you're not.
Level, I don't think I've
Tribune.
ever talked to you before.
Yes, you have. It's okay.
Tribune.
It's all right.
Why,
I'm gonna
Yeah,
follow
let's
why
bring
do
it
you
back.
have doubt
And you
in
and
the
I can
many,
have this
many
debate.
years
Happy
that
to.
Will you
human
host?
beings doing research
Good.
on
my
the
goodness.
Earth and space itself? Now, like you said earlier, I had my words wrong. Faith and belief are pretty much the same thing, but
Sure.
I can't have faith in it just doesn't seem physically possible, even if I was to consider it. Now, a spherical globe that is being folded into almost a perfect sphere because of the magnetic poles bringing everything together.
Can I-
And of course, iron ore in the middle of the magnetic core.
Can I level
which
with you?
also is
Yeah.
well.
Sure.
Well, let me.
So, because
I'm-
you're
I- that's
starting to
what-
build upon the
I-
fallacies, Oogie. That's why I was starting to
Wait.
you
Can
know,
I
politely
complete a thought
interject.
before you finish? May I complete a thought before?
Okay, just make sure the
you,
thought's specific, right?
rebuttal? Okay, I'll
Okay,
be
yeah,
even more
respond to
specific
singular.
on your fallacy
Dog.
that everyone is potentially lying in simple faith. Like even back when racism was a huge thing and nobody liked black people or nobody liked white people, whatever. These teachings were still true. Back when machines were not a real instrument, it was still true. Heck, when people can fly, people were just discovering, oh my goodness, I can circle the world. That's how trade happened, and that's how slaves came to America, because they discovered that the earth is somewhere you can travel all the way around.
Starting to
Different
regret
forms of
letting you
trade happen
continue.
this way. Now, no, well, if that's the case,
Why don't you just
then
listen
let
to
me
his
continue,
point, man?
because you have had definitely had some time to continue. You are basing your evidence solely on faith and coming up with the conclusion on your own, which what you're doing is having scientific theories, which is okay. You're going to have your theories. There's nothing wrong with that. However, scientists who are in the profession, who have found proof for many of their scientific theories, have done this for many and many of years. You are basing it upon hoping or thinking that these people who are above us in stature of pay is lying to you.
I love it. So I'm going to take it back to basic children's level logic, right? Positive claims, right? Now, I get that you want to try to say that, well, you're trying to say that everybody is lying, so you need to prove that. I'm not the one with the positive claim. They're all
For
claiming,
sure you are, dude.
No, they're all claiming
For sure
that
you
they
are.
have evidence.
Which
And
they
so
do.
I'm now asking for the evidence, and
Which
you guys
we
want to
give
talk
you.
about my credentials. You haven't given me anything yet.
Can
That's
you?
why I keep
Where
trying to
where
get
are
back to
you,
the science,
Tribune?
right?
Where are you right now?
I'm in
This is
Florida right now.
Florida, me too,
okay.
bro. Hold on.
This is what
I
do.
just really quickly. Can
Mhm.
you see? Can you see the fucking Polaris?
I'm sure I can.
Can you see the Southern Cross?
No, I can't.
Interesting. Do you know why that is?
Interesting. Yes, I do. Yes, I do, actually.
You
Do
gotta
you?
talk to me, man.
Yeah.
You gotta tell me why.
Tell me why.
Because as things get further away from you, they
You should
converge
see a dot
onto
at
the
least,
horizon.
bro. You should see a dot at least.
This is actually-
at least the two hands.
No, that's actually
It's
how it
because
works.
the Earth is in the way, my
You
guy.
can't
So no,
see
so-
forever. You
How do
cannot
eclipses
see
work?
Forever.
How do
That is a great
eclipses
enough
work?
distance
Oh
to
my God.
show the curvature right there. Yes. Good. Wow. Good job. Good
That's so
trouble,
funny.
man.
It's
I-
just
can't
these two
see
things.
forever.
It's these two little things, you guys. There's the fucking Southern Cross, which you can't see because it's on the other side of the Earth,
No, it is not.
and also eclipses.
Yeah, because
And
you can just
also,
see
why are the governments lying to us? If I'm not trying to back you in a corner, it's literally because you can't answer this question because it's insane.
because I don't have direct personal knowledge.
Correct.
Of it. Could be many things.
Correct.
The funny thing is, sorry, Keith, go ahead. Are you going to bring up like an
I
actual
want to bring the
scientific?
science to you, brother.
Thank you.
That's I don't mind debating science. This is my thing. This is what I do, right? I do the science of this, and for me, my understanding of and this is the simplest
Hold on. Wait.
explanation.
Keith. Keith.
Occam's
May I say something
razor.
right fast before we go? Keith, right
Mhm.
fast because I'm about to get off the live. I have to go get
Sure,
off the
no
live.
problem,
I
brother.
want to say something right fast. Why are you about to debate with Tribune scientifically when there's already scientists that beat the debate?
It's a great
What
question.
Yeah, I know.
scientists? With what point?
Because I'm taking my observations, right? The observations that I've made that align with the scientific understanding of things, and then I use that in the debate, right? So because I don't have direct personal knowledge myself, and I haven't been outside of the atmosphere of the planet, I can only go by what I can observe that aligns with what it is that science has
Right.
come up with. So that's why we have no choice. If we're going to debate this, it has to be a real live debate.
You just admitted confirmation bias, Keith.
What's that?
You just admitted confirmation bias. When you go in looking at anything scientific, you're supposed to go and look at it with a pure skeptic mind and try to disprove what is being postulated. When
I've
you
looked at
propose a
yours, too.
hypothesis, you're supposed to try to
Humans
debunk
have
the
already figured this
hypothesis.
out, though.
I've done
Humans
both,
have already
right? I've
figured
done
this
both.
out and hired scientists to do so.
Well, just so you
I've
know,
already
you
figured
may have
this
you may have misspoke, Keith, but you said you only look at the evidence
I
that
find it
goes in line
very,
with the
very
scientific
funny
consensus.
I'm sorry,
how
man. I did
condescending.
misspeak. I
From
messed
a
it up.
point,
I messed it up.
the point with which the expertise with which you speak down to people from a position of absolute dizzy ignorance
Certainty.
is fucking insane.
Just bring up
No, no,
one
no, no, no.
intellectual
No,
point that
good
we
trouble.
can debate
It's
over.
Sure.
absolute
Why are the governments lying to us?
It's not an intellectual point.
It's literally the whole point.
It's not.
It's the whole
literally
point.
not.
Good
Well,
trouble.
who is it?
Science would be the
Who
science
is it
would
and
be
why?
the sun, right? When we look at the sun, right, and I look at it through a microscope with a filter. I mean, a telescope with a filter, and I can observe solar flares, and I can observe the reactions that are happening on the sun. Um, let's get to that one first, and then we can go with the moon, and then
Level,
we can
why
go
are
with
you
the positions
laughing?
of the stars.
It's a joke, guys. You don't live on a spinning space ball. Hey, good trouble.
You can just laugh at these things,
Good
but we can
trouble.
observe them
Good trouble.
ourselves.
Hey, good trouble.
Yes, Level.
Good trouble.
Do you need
November
something?
9th, November 9th of last year, we had a
Uh-huh.
Sicilian eclipse that was a top-down eclipse with the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time. Can you explain that?
What?
Wait,
I
what?
know what. I know what. We had a Sicilian eclipse November 9th.
Selenelian.
Yes. and it was.
Well, you know what he was talking about, man. I got you.
Oh wait, hold on. A Sicilian eclipse. Is that what? Did they give you
Sicilian,
pasta
man.
sauce with that,
Man,
or
y'all
what?
really don't want to.
Hey, it's what it's called.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Mamma mia!
I'm sorry. And it was November 9th. It was a top-down eclipse, and the
Mhm.
sun and the moon were in the sky at the same time. Can you explain that for me?
I can't. anything that will be tidally locked, man, if we're not spinning, like, okay, so say the earth is rotating, right? Eventually you would line, if the sun is tidally, if the moon is tidally locked with the planet, eventually, no matter how many times you spin it, at some point it has to align between, it has, the sun would have no choice but to be on the opposite side of the moon. There's just no way for that to happen. There's no way not to happen. It just, even if it was just pure chance and we were spinning at an irregular speed, eventually this would take place.
So
that wouldn't be proof.
I don't think you're aware of the actual issue with the Selenelian eclipse and the reason why it's called the impossible eclipse.
Sicilian.
Nice. So the reason why it's dubbed the impossible eclipse is, for one, for that reason that Level just mentioned, that both the sun and moon are in the sky at the same time, that the eclipse is happening. You got to remember, if the eclipse is due to the position of the sun and the relative position of the sun and the moon and the earth, and that's caused due to the earth's shadow, then this would literally be impossible for both of the celestial objects to be above the plane of earth, and then for that shadow to be causing the eclipse. Doesn't make any logical sense. The explanation is that it's actually bendy light. Refraction causes this. But the only thing is that it's kind of left very dubious. The shadow's actually going the wrong way too on the eclipse. In other words,
do you not believe in refraction?
Well, hold on. Explain how refraction would fix this, right? Because the shadow's coming from the wrong way. It's literally coming from the top down, like from
space. You are
space.
Citing refraction,
so
I don't have to prove it.
Does. It light bends, and I understand that. You're right.
Yeah,
I could show you, bro. I could show you refraction in a cup of glass, in a glass of water right now.
I agree with you that there is such thing as refraction. However, show what would the refraction that would be necessary to show the shadow coming from the opposite direction from our vantage point on Earth.
Here, I'll probably explain this to you. The most likely explanation for this is that you're both deeply misunderstanding how this works.
No,
that's
good trouble.
Yes, Level. I missed you. Yes, do you have something for me?
The refractive index of air is 1.0003. The refractive index of water is 1.333, and the refractive index of 80% sugar solution in water is 1.50. The refractive index of a diamond is 2.4.
What are relative to what? What are these? What it
is?
It's not
1.00 units of refraction. What are you talking about?
So you don't even know.
Water, you were doing a non sequitur.
It's relative to pulling out the oxygen and having no refraction and no water vapor. So he's talking about looking through a vacuum, and when you look through a vacuum that has all the water vapor pulled out, there's going to be almost zero refraction. It's an incalculably low amount of refraction. Well, I mean, I guess we can't really make a true vacuum, so it's almost it's as close to zero as we can measure. But yeah, you're right. That's what the reference is to. So it's always referencing that.
So, do you understand that with the bendy space light, you kind of backed yourselves in the corner on like how all the math works, right? Because the way that all the math works is off a direct line of sight to the celestial objects that you base all these measurements off of. So I'm just wondering how you guys rectify that.
But it's literally not.
For me, there are things, and I recognize, man, that I am, for the most part, I try to stick to terrestrial sciences, but there are some things that I know I don't understand about celestial science. And I would have to say that would be one of the points of contention that I would have to say that would give me a pause, but it wouldn't solidify any point that you made, right? It's simply something that I don't understand. And that's fine. Go ahead,
Keith,
bro.
I don't mean to cut you off here, but like in one sentence you say, I believe in refraction, and then you say bendy space light. So do you not believe in refraction, or is it like
not through a vacuum? No.
Which is it?
Not through a vacuum. No. It wouldn't make any sense through a vacuum even the way the mainstream model presents it. So, good trouble. You've given not one solid specific point that not
again
one
the condescension from somebody who thinks that Earth is a pizza.
Let me hold on. Let me say I have an argument. Let me have an argument, please. I'm out of my bedroom. My wife is sleeping, so I need to come out of there.
Problem.
Okay, so
mine is too.
I thought about it a little bit.
I'm alone.
Just this tight bit. Let me see here.
And make sure you have your Google page up.
Right, not even grab. What do you think about space and how?
Yeah,
how is
Google's
space,
not real.
What do you think that is?
Man, the straw man's and sophistry is unreal.
I know what a straw man is.
What do you think about space?
You're pretty.
Do you think,
You're
brother?
not really providing anything productive to the conversation.
Okay.
Disagree.
When I'm asking,
I'm literally. What do you think about space?
I'm saying the same thing, right? When I'm talking about, like, because I'm saying that there's 93 million miles between us and the sun, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
the moon is tightly locked with the earth, and I believe that, right? I haven't seen it. I can't go to it because I don't have the money. But my understanding is from what I see from because when I took the flat Earth, right, I looked at the research for the flat Earth, and I looked at the research for the global Earth, the spherical Earth. Um, the more compelling evidence came from spherical Earth for me. So
Okay.
Can I
I
ask
don't
you?
align my beliefs.
Can I ask you, Keith,
Yes, sir.
specifically, since you did say that you looked at your flat Earth research,
Yes,
what
sir.
specifically did you look at?
For me, when it first started, the first thing that I looked at was why, when I jump up, does the earth not move out from under me? And I said, well, that could happen in a number of ways. So the earth could be flat. And then I started to look at, well, if I jump up inside of an airplane and the airplane is already moving and I'm in a closed environment, that takes care of that. So that one neutralize that for me. If I jump up and down inside of a bus, same thing. So as long as I'm in the closed environment and everything's moving at the same speed, it took that out for me. For me, the sun being given the candle power that it gives, and for it to be a 3 mile sphere that's 30, what is, I don't know, they said 30,000 feet above the earth, or 30 miles. They said 30 miles
No,
above
there's
the
not
earth.
a. Yeah,
I
we
did
don't know.
not know that this flat Earth argument has went so far because I'm over
Oh,
here
it does.
thinking of various ways now, and they've
It
already
does.
somewhat been counteracted. Like for example, how Keith just said, if we jump up, the Earth doesn't move. Why? Because the Earth isn't moving. Oh, we're just sitting in space. Well, if we're
Duh.
just sitting in
Mhm.
space, then there'd be
No, we're
one
not in
side of
space.
the Earth that is fried by the sun, and one space this is cold as hell because there's no sun over there. Then oh wait, the sun is actually under a firmament. So then the other side of the firmament should be burned up. Oh wait, if there's a firmament, something up there, then maybe it should be dirty, or we should see all the balloons that people have lost over the years, or maybe we should see, I don't know, just anything on touch. This firmament must be dirty, and no one can clean the firmament, right? So does people go up there and clean the firmament? Is that a
No,
job? I'd
dude.
like to work for that
God
job.
cleans the firmament.
God cleans the firmament. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Oh,
God needs to hire me to clean that firmament because I
We're all
want to
gonna
see
dirty as
listen
everything
hell.
out.
when AI comes. We're all gonna need to clean the firmament for money.
We have
The
to spare
government can
What?
pay us. The shadow
See,
Hey, hey,
government.
hey, good
see,
trouble.
the
Good
shadow government,
trouble.
right? The underground government. Now, with that being said, okay, so check this out.
Mhm.
Above that firmament, apparently, is water, right? Is water,
Mhm.
like as in, like, okay, we're just surrounded by a big engulfment of water. I'm pretty sure if you go deep enough under the ocean, the weight of the water will crush
If
you.
I
I
take
don't think
a
a
if I
firm.
take a condescending tone, I can make your position just
What do you
absolutely
mean
sound
if?
ridiculous on
Dog,
the
that's all
merits as
you've
well.
been doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
pretty much. I know. That's why I'm speaking in the way I am now because I am out here in the open field, able to speak this way. Because you have to
well,
hear
I'm
me
just
somewhat
waiting
distinctly,
for
which I hope
one
you don't
relevant
take me.
point. I'm just waiting for one
I've said
relevant
so
point from
many
either of you.
relevant points. There's
You've
no
not
way
said
that
a single relevant
there's so
point.
way logically
Give
that
me
we
one
can live in a
citation.
bubble.
I'll
We
do like
cannot
you guys
live
do
in
to
a
flat
bubble.
earthers. Give me
How
one
is the air
scientific
being
paper.
filtered?
I'm
Like,
not
How?
can you tell
asking.
me how is
Go
how is the
outside and
air
show me the
being
Southern Cross
filtered?
right now.
All right, we're gonna
No,
just do a
what?
reset.
Oh,
So
What's
bye.
wrong, brother?
I'm gonna
okay.
Bye.
miss you.
Are we good to go?
You're
Um,
good, Keith. You've been respectful.
I'm trying to figure it out, my friend. And this is what because if there's a firmament, if that exists, right, and I don't think it does, but if there was a firmament, like, would we experience something different from a sphere that's, a dot that's putting off that much heat? That's, and how far is it that because some said 30 miles, and I don't know that it could be 30 miles. That's a humongous dome.
I'm trying not to let my frustration show, but the reason
I
why
understand, man.
I'm
I
a little
understand.
frustrated is just because it's like it's a whole thought process that I have to basically educate you guys on that you should already
True.
have. It's just the skeptical thought process, right?
Mhm,
Instead of attacking a model that I haven't even claimed, right? I haven't
mhm,
claimed a firmament because I don't know. I don't know exactly how the sun works. I haven't
mhm,
taken direct measurements. I don't know anybody who has actually been able to go up to the sun to take a direct measurement. Everything that we know about the celestial bodies is infirmed, reified models that then back each other up based off of mathematics. There's no way around that. There's actually well-known astrophysicists that, like George Ellis, he said back in 1994, actually, way back in the day, said that he can construct various different models of the universe, and that we could not disprove it based on observations. We could only dismiss it based on philosophical grounds. The biggest one that he was referring to, I believe, is the one that was mentioned in Kepler, when Kepler started making his observations and started noticing that, hey, it really does appear that we're at the center of the universe. So either we're at the center or there is no center. And then they said, we choose the other one, that there is no center, on the grounds that we must avoid. This is Kepler's words, word for word. We must avoid the idea of a central. Sorry, now I'm messing it up. Now I can't
Do
remember.
we get to talk at all?
Give me a second. I'll let you talk here in just a second. I appreciate you guys coming on, by the way, and being
Hey,
patient.
Kobe. What's going on,
So
bro?
basically, George Ellis said there's a multitude of different models that he can construct. We can't disprove them. We've literally only been given one model of the universe in school, right? So it's no wonder why you guys know, why I, even knew a whole bunch about that. So I went through the same education process that you guys went. It's just when you actually look to verify the specific claims, and not just breadcrumb, right, with the begging the question, like, well, if the Earth is a ball, then this. No, try to actually verify the actual claim. So the first
You're
claim you
making a
try
lot
to
of
verify
assumptions here.
is the curvature claim. So I'll end it there, right? I'm trying to verify claims. Go ahead.
Sure.
So we had a model of the universe before that had Mercury moving in a retrograde orbit. It was not an oval orbit or anywhere near a circular orbit. It would move backwards in orbit. And we observed that, and it matched our observations. But then we learned about gravity and how gravity works. Do you believe in gravity in the way that I believe in gravity as a round earther?
Probably not. How do you believe it? Like just the mainstream?
Well, I would say it. Does your belief? Yeah, mainstream. Yes.
No.
Okay, so why is it mathematically predictable?
So you guys are using an average, and you're extrapolating from that average. So it's reverse engineered.
What do you mean?
So when you say gravity, right, you mean the bending and warping of space-time, which you can say, like, it's mathematically predictable. It's actually a construct, right? So even space and time, space is like the absence of things, and time is just, forward progression marked by us. These are all concepts that we then say has physical properties that can bend due to the mass of objects, right? That actually is not mathematically predictable. That has actually caused one of the biggest mismatches in cosmological history, actually in scientific history, according to Michio Kaku. They're off on their mathematical equation by a factor of 10 to the over 100th power.
120.
120th power. And in any other field of science, with terrestrial sciences, let's say, if you're off by a factor, and this is again according to Michio Kaku, if you're off in science by a factor of even 10, then normally you would scrap the entire theory. But in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 120. That's like a quote that you can pull. So this is specifically to do with gravity, right? So you can't say that it's so predictable when there's so many issues with it, and then you have to make up dark matter to make up 96% of the mass in the universe because the gravity equations didn't work.
So it's interesting that you say that we're off so much, because the planet Neptune was discovered entirely mathematically.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Hey, can you help us out? Can you actually show us observations and experiences and experiments, and not tell us about math?
I really don't want to jump from the point, because you just said that the math worked, and when I hear the math works, right, I hear that it works every time, right? That it's consistent. That's what I would consider a mathematical proof, right? But this doesn't work.
Well, hold on. Before you move on from that point, the math that was used to pinpoint within 1 degree the position of Neptune based on the difference in orbit that we observed in Uranus is the same math that was used by Einstein to complete his theory of relativity.
And what is Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity? Can you tell me?
No.
Why can't you tell me?
Because I'm not smart.
Well, an object. Well, the theory of never mind. An object in motion tends to stay in motion until an object acting upon said object. And I forget the exact words of it, but yeah, you get it. You get it.
His general relativity, which he published his field equations November 25th, 1915, that weren't verified till Eddington 4 years later, is the bending and warping of space-time, and there's no evidence that anything bends and warps as far as light. So that is Einstein's
What's gravitational lensing?
A picture that you guys believe.
Yep.
Okay. All right, got it. So
there's no other. Hold on. Before you move on, though. Before you move on, hold on. Hold 1 second. Is there any terrestrial example of gravitational lensing, or is there just the James Webb pictures?
It's small numbers versus big numbers. You can't have
the burden of proof in a positive claim?
Earth.
Who has the burden of proof in a positive claim? If you're going to say that we have proof of gravitational lensing, obviously a picture is not proof of anything, right?
Say again. I would say that observation is the basis of all science, right?
Repeatable. Repeatable. Yeah,
okay,
repeatable.
So what about our telescopes? When we send out our humongous telescopes, we have 6 of them.
No, there's only one.
Right?
Well, sorry, there's only one.
6. There are 6 that the humans have sent out there so far.
Yeah, I don't mean the telescopes. I mean they're all under control of like one group, right? So are there different corporations in charge of these, like private companies in charge of these telescopes, not contracted at all through the NASA or other space agencies?
Oh, so what would be the purpose of having
which ones?
What would be the purpose of those being misused to fool the entire world?
Well, for one, they were just a big money laundering pit, in my opinion. I could have brought you guys those pictures for way cheaper.
For $66 billion?
Yeah, exactly.
The people who $66 billion.
The people who pocket the probably $60 billion that were left over.
But that's
they're also benefiting from lying to the world.
You're just going to hand wave it, but I mean, money is a motivation, isn't it?
Dude, this whole fucking live is you hand waving everything. Prove to me that you're a real person.
I can't.
Right, that's right.
I can be an AI. Can't. Yeah, AI bot.
You're not even real.
Yeah, so
why should we
so when we actually look at actual terrestrial observations, right, we can see that the actual curvature. We'll just start with the actual basis, right?
Over and over
yeah, I could,
it doesn't make it fucking real.
I know, right? And you saying fucking all the time doesn't make you a big man. So
yeah, it's a crutch.
In any case, it is. In any case, so there are actually terrestrial observations that debunk the curvature model. Do you have any terrestrial observations that actually reify the
so you
globular
saying
model?
That there are terrestrial observations that debunk it and then moving on is fucking
consistently.
Show me. Show me the burden. You have the burden.
Hold on,
Ross Smith, thanks for joining the show and being patient.
Hey Ross, how you doing today?
I'm all right. How are you, friend?
Talk about it. Tell it what you need to know.
You say there are celestial observations that demonstrate that the Earth is flat. Can you just name a couple for me, just so I can, look into those sources, please?
So, no, I didn't say celestial observation. I said terrestrial. I said terrestrial.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so there's one on Flat Earth Explorers that you can check out. That's a frozen lake observation that you can take 4 data points, then plot them over an 8-mile stretch of land, and we can see that there is no demonstrable curvature.
I've seen that same experiment where it shows that there is demonstrable curvature.
Okay.
Yeah, drop the link.
What about the 17? And they called it. There were 17 people that did it, and it's called a non-instrumental laser-guided flight, equatorial, right? And they refueled in air, and it took them 57 hours to, and at the speed that they were doing. I can't remember what it was, 430 or 530 miles per hour. They completed it, and for these 17 people and their crew that did this, I don't know why are we discounting the people that said that they've done this and they have the observation.
Flying above the Earth doesn't prove the shape of the Earth.
Well, no. This is what happens. They start out at one point. Like say so if we're doing an equatorial flight, right? For you to start in Norfolk, Virginia, and then land in San Diego, California, you'd have had to go completely around. Now, and you're not using instrumentation, right? You're using an altimeter and a laser, right?
They're
And
using
everything.
instrumentation for sure.
Well, I mean, you're using an altimeter and a laser. That's it. That's all you're using. You're following a straight line, and whatever point you come to when you get back
But
to the
that
United States of
actually
America.
doesn't work. If you go a straight line east
Why?
or west, you actually have to correct north. And that's on the ball and on the flat Earth. So you
So
don't
why
believe
did
me?
it
Go
work
on Google Earth and draw a line and check it for yourself.
So why did it work?
They did it. 17 people did this, and you're saying that it doesn't work, but they did this in
Yeah, he's
real
just
time.
hand waving.
I've got
like
their
you said.
names.
Just fucking hand waving.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna like detract from that because I like to start things simply just to make sure that I understand where you're coming from, right? Now, you mentioned the horizon. Can you explain the horizon to me?
The horizon.
Yeah,
It's
you mentioned it a
it's a
while ago and it piqued my interest.
Can I
the
take
horizon
that?
is a visual. Oh, sure, go ahead, Level.
Can I take that? Your globe Earthers believe there's a physical or geometric horizon, and on a ball of 3,959 miles radius, you have the Earth curve calculator that you can go by. That when things start to go over the curve, you can no longer see it. On the stationary topographical plane or flat Earth, is an apparent horizon. So if you're on a ball like you guys believe, with a circumference of 24,901 miles, you have 8 inches square, 8 inches per mile squared. You have 8 inches at 1 mile, 32 at 2 miles, 72 at 3 miles. You have 66 feet at 10 miles. You have 266 feet at 20 miles. You have at 30 feet. You have 600 feet. At 40 miles, you have 1,066. At 50 feet, you have 1,666 feet. So that is your, excuse me, that is your, at a 6 feet observation height on the beach, you start losing things over your ball at 3 feet. At 6 feet. And at 30 feet observation height, you start losing things over your ball at 6.71 miles. This right here is Chicago. This right here is Benton Harbor, Michigan, across the Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago skyline.
It's 62 miles. 62 miles at 30 feet observation height. It should be, you should be losing around the ball at 6.7.
Okay, so you're getting
Excuse me. Let
way
me
far
finish.
away from
Let
what I
me
Yeah,
asked.
but
finish.
a photo
Yeah,
is
Let
try
not
to
me
level.
evidence,
finish.
right?
Bring it
Like
back
a
in,
pho-
Level.
Finish.
like a picture is not evidence, right?
6.71 miles.
Level,
We can
you're
see
respectfully, you're way
nine
off of what
times
I
further.
asked.
We can see 9 times further at 30 feet observation height than we do on your ball.
I did this experiment with the Chicago skyline, right? I did that. And this is how you can do the experiment, right? You'd have to get a dehumidifier, or you can just use steam, right? You can use steam. And if you shine the light properly over the, like you, I did, and someone showed me how to do it. And I did this, and
Oh
I can
my
show it to you.
goodness.
I can show it to you right now.
Oh my
You
goodness.
can cut out a little skyline. You can put it below a table. Right, you can absolutely do this. If you let the steam rise and you shine the light behind it, you will absolutely, looking at the table from the table level,
Oh
you
my
can
God.
absolutely see this guy. I mean, you're laughing at an experiment
It's a
that's
joke.
provable that you can do.
It's a
Hey,
Oh, I'm about to
joke.
say.
hey,
Go
Keith.
Okay, I'm about
look
to say.
at it.
If you
Go
do it
do
yourself,
it.
you do it.
Keith,
You.
I'm sorry, but Level just had a really good point by shaking his head left and right. He totally debunked you. I'm sorry.
Oh man, yeah, that one's weird, man. I did this, and if you use the
Right
steam,
there.
you can
Right
shine the light
there.
at the right angle
So
and
Right
see
Level,
there.
do
this
you
make believe
agree that a
skyline.
photo doesn't show proof, like the host said earlier?
You know what, guys? I
With
have
Mhm.
what,
my
Level?
P I have my P1000 right over here with the
Can
tripod.
you answer the question that I
And
asked you?
I am 38 miles away from St. Joseph,